Good morning. In this segment of video recording, I'm going to show you where to find enormous amount of methane. I think the scientific researchers, they didn't find a right place to harness methane efficiently. Neduvasal in Tanjavur district is not the place to find methane. You are finding very meager amount of methane in Neduvasal and Karaikudi, all those Kaveri Delta regions, very, very little amount of methane. But I'm going to show you where large amount of methane is concentrated. That is Arctic region, and also northern part of Russia, Siberia, in the permafrost. Permafrost is thawing, that means it's melting. All those trees covered by ice millions of years ago, now they are exposed. Now there is bacterial activity is going on, and methane is produced large amount. And I think our corporations, those who are interested in methane collection, like a Great Eastern Energy Corporation, that is GEECL. So that is the Indian counterpart which is interested in methane collection. So these people, they should really look for efficient places where they can collect huge amounts. So I think Great Eastern Energy Corporation Limited is looking for methane in a wrong place, that is in Neduvasal or in Karaikal. Why don't you take all those machines back to Siberia or polar regions, Arctic regions, where you can find millions of tons of methane. You don't have to take even your heavy equipment like cranes and bulldozers and trucks. You can go with the pipe, and we can go with the big tank, and you can fill it up. Every minute you can fill a whole tank. It's very easy to harness methane in these areas, in polar regions. So while enormous amount is there being wasted and it's spewed into the atmosphere, why are you going to dig almost 1 kilometer under the earth and in that process destroy agricultural land, destroy the poor people's livelihood, and pollute the environment? Is it necessary? So I did research for you. You companies, those who are interested, like Great Eastern Energy Corporation Limited, GEECL, if you are listening and abandon the current project in Kaveri Delta region and go to Siberia, go to polar regions, and you can collect it. No tax, nothing. You can live rich ever after. You can make billions and billions of dollars. How many dollars, I don't care. You can have them all. But leave our poor farmers, our poor land, our poor environment clean, because this environment is going to be the heritage for our future generations. Neduvasal is in Pudukkottai district, over 400 kilometers south of Chennai. Is threatening to become the next hotbed of protest in Tamil Nadu. Farmers, villages, and environmentalists are protesting against a soon-to-start hydrocarbon extraction project, claiming that it will affect their farmlands and pollute underground water. Kaveri Delta Coal Bed Methane Extraction Project, that is the name of it. Kaveri Delta Coal Bed Methane Extraction Project. Otherwise, in short form, it is known as CBM, which is Coal Bed Methane Project. A quick research into the coal bed methane extraction project reveals the following. Number one, such coal bed methane projects are ongoing in America, Australia, Canada, UK, and a few other countries. Number two, there are a lot of precautions to be taken to prevent methane and saline water, which also comes with a lot of natural chemicals and metals from leaking into the surface. Number three, the carbon dioxide and a minimal amount of methane that is let out in this process is extremely harmful for the environment. Number four, fresh water has to be injected to release methane from coal. That requires millions of gallons of water, and this Kaveri Delta doesn't have enough water. Environmentally, it looks more like a disaster in the making than anything good for our Mother Earth. More so, it looks totally stupid to eradicate rich, fertile lands for methane extraction. We have all seen a lot of animated videos floating around saying this will make the rice belt into desert. So how did this all come about anyway? On July 29, 2010, GEECL won CBM4 type license in a bidding to explore and extract methane gas and coal deposit in Mannarkudi block of Thiruvarur district in the Kaveri basin from the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas, Government of India. Remember, Mr. Manmohan Singh was the Prime Minister of India from 2004 to 2014. Subsequently, then the DMK government of Tamil Nadu issued petroleum extraction license known as PEL for area covering 667 kilometers comprising Nagapattinam, Tanjavur and Thiruvarur districts. The company has a plan to drill 50 crore production wells of 150 to 450 meters deep in the ground. In September 2012, the Union Ministry of Environment and Forest issued environmental clearance to the project. Government of Tamil Nadu suspended the project, citing issues raised by farmers. Also, the Tamil Nadu government constituted an expert committee comprising representatives from Anna University, the Indian Institute of Technology, Madras, the Tamil Nadu Agricultural University, and the M.S. Swaminathan Research Foundation, and officials from the Public Works Department, the Tamil Nadu Pollution Control Board, and Tamil Nadu Industrial Development Corporation. The Union Ministry responded to Mrs. Kanimozhi, Rajya Sabha member at the time, Kanimozhi's question about the project, stating that the government had cancelled the license to the company and the project had stopped. This is the outcome of the decision made by late Chief Minister Mrs. Jayalalitha on November 10, 2016. The Union Minister of State of Petroleum and Natural Gas, Dharmendra Pradhan, said that the project has been withdrawn. What are the objections raised by the villagers in Neduvasal? Villagers are saying that agriculture will be heavily impacted if extraction begins. They are also apprehensive that fertility of the land will be affected and groundwater will be contaminated. There is also fear that there could be saline water intrusion if the seawater and groundwater interface is disturbed. Moreover, no agricultural activity can happen while the exploration is on, and villages in and around Neduvasal are completely dependent on agriculture. There are both natural and human sources of methane emissions. The main natural sources include wetlands, termites, and oceans. Natural sources create 36% of methane emissions. Human sources include landfills and livestock farming, but the most important source being the production, transportation, and the use of fossil fuels. Human-related sources create the majority of methane emissions, accounting for 64% of the total. Methane levels have more than doubled over the last 150 years. This is because of human activities like fossil fuel use and intensive farming. Before the Industrial Revolution, natural sinks kept methane levels in a safe range. Humans are creating methane emissions a lot faster than the earth can remove them, which has increased global methane levels during the last 800,000 years. Methane concentrations have always varied between 350 to 800 ppb. Since the Industrial Revolution, methane levels have become much higher, so much so that they are now 2.5 times larger. Methane emissions. Since the Industrial Revolution, human sources of methane emissions have been growing. Fossil fuel production and intensive livestock farming have caused the current increase methane levels. Together, these two sources are responsible for 60% of all human methane emissions. Other sources include landfills and waste 16%, biomass burning 11%, rice agriculture 9%, as well as biofuels, which contributes 4%. As I told you, go to Arctic tundra. The natural sources here in Tamil Nadu, they produce meager amount of methane, while Arctic tundra, permafrost, produces millions of tons of methane. It's free. Just as methane is escaping from the mud behind man-made dams, the gas is escaping from underneath Arctic ice and permafrost due to global warming. A study published in May 2007 in the journal Nature, Geoscience found that methane gas, which had been trapped under the ice, is now escaping into the atmosphere as the Arctic region heats up. This in turn could speed up further warming. The potential impact of all of this Arctic methane is still being studied, but it seems to be one of the bigger and most immediate dangers of climate change. While most attention has been given to carbon dioxide, it isn't the only greenhouse gas that scientists are worried about. Carbon dioxide is the most important human emitted greenhouse gas, but methane has also increased in the atmosphere, and it adds to our concerns. While methane is not currently as important as carbon dioxide, it has a higher danger. Molecule for molecule, methane traps more heat than carbon dioxide, approximately 30 times more, depending on the time frame under consideration. However, because methane is present in much smaller concentrations compared to carbon dioxide, its aggregate effect is less. But what has scientists focusing on methane is the way it is released into the atmosphere. Unlike carbon dioxide, which is emitted primarily through burning of fossil fuels, methane has a large natural emission component. This natural emission is from warming permafrost in the northern latitudes. Permafrost is permanently frozen ground. Much of the permafrost is undisturbed by bacterial decomposition. As the earth warms, and the Arctic warms especially fast, the permafrost melts and soil decomposition accelerates. Consequently, an initial warming leads to more emission, leading to more warming and more emission. It is a vicious cycle, and there may be a tipping point where this self-reinforcing cycle takes over. Recently, a policy briefing from the world-leading Woodsole Research Center has moved our understanding of this risk further through a clearly written summary. The briefing cites two recent papers that study the so-called permafrost carbon feedback. One of these studies makes use of projections from the most recent IPCC report to estimate that up to 205 gigatons equivalent of carbon dioxide could be released due to melting permafrost. This would cause up to 0.5 centigrade extra warming. Just as bad, the permafrost melting would continue after 2100, which would lock us into even more warming. Under this scenario, meeting a 2 degrees Celsius limit would be harder than anticipated. The current IPCC targets do not adequately account for this feedback. To put this in perspective, permafrost contains almost twice as much carbon as is present in the atmosphere. In the rapidly warming Arctic, which is warming twice as fast as the globe as a whole, the upper layers of this frozen soil begin to thaw or melt, allowing deposited organic material to decompose. The plant material, which has accumulated over thousands of years, is concentrated into upper layers. Half of it is in the top 10 feet. 10 feet you can collect methane. Why do you want to drill 1 kilometer in Neduvasal? Arctic tundra, only 10 feet. You don't have big machines. Go and collect the methane there. It's available in billions of tons. There is a network of monitoring stations that are measuring ground temperatures, have detected a significant heating trend over the past few decades, and so as the active layer thickens. So this means that reducing carbon dioxide pollution is even more important. If we are to stop the warming, thawing, more warming cycle, it is critical to reduce emissions now. According to these experts, this is a serious issue and we should listen to them. Don't go and open methane hydrates under 1,000 meters and you release into the atmosphere. Why do you do that? Global warming is accelerating. And by implementing the project in Tamil Nadu, actually you are adding more fuel to global warming and climate change. Instead of that, go to Arctic tundra. Naturally, methane is coming out, and go and collect that methane so you can stop global warming, you can reduce global warming and climate change by harnessing naturally released methane. So my advice to big companies, those who are interested in collection of methane, go to the place where humans don't live, where there is no agriculture, where there are no poor people, and do whatever you want there and collect enormous amount, and you make money, billions of dollars. I don't want it. We don't want it. You live happily. My blessings to you. Please go to polar regions for the collection of methane and Siberia. That is the hot spot for the collection of methane. Good luck, companies. Good luck. Bye.